right. 3, 2, 1. God, we're so bad at clapping.
I know that was really weak.
All right, I gotta redo that.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a little better.
All right, 42. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Within Tolerance. This is episode 42, and as Dylan just told me, we are 10 away from 1 year, which is kind of insane. That's what, 2.5 months away?
Yeah, no, 4 months, right?
4 per month, right?
No, 2 of them. Oh yeah. Sorry, you're right. Apparently, math's not my strong suit today. For some reason, I was thinking, oh yeah, every other week.
You really had me question myself for a second there.
No, you're 100% right. That was my bad.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy. So that's kind of a cool little tidbit. But without further ado, Dylan, what's up in your world?
So real quick, I had a couple shout outs I wanted to do just for some cool stuff. Hold on one second. I'm trying to find one of them. I'm trying to remember if it was on my personal Instagram or not. Well, while I look for it, one of them that I had happen was I had 2 indicators that I needed repaired. One was from work, and a coworker borrowed the indicator and spun it up in a machine.
Oh, shoot.
Well, he paid for a new one, so I don't care. But I had sent out an indicator to like a fairly well-known indicator repair place. It wasn't Long Island Indicator for anybody who listens. They're like the gold standard for interrapid repair, but they are very expensive. I mean, they clearly earn their keep. And so I was looking for a kind of more budget-friendly one, especially for an indicator I didn't really need. And then I had an indicator at the shop that it was missing a crystal. And I found this guy, Joshua, I think his name is Joshua Renfree, and he runs Accurate Origins, and it's all through Facebook right now. He's just another small shop just starting out. I guess he learned to repair indicators just out of necessity, and has just kind of honed his craft. But anyway, I got the first 2 indicators back from him, 2 5/10 interrapids, and man, it's just like spot on work, like free shipping back. He was half the quoted turnaround time, great communication. I just wanted to, shout him out. And if anybody's looking for him, look up Accurate Origins on Facebook. He posts on a lot of the machinist Facebook groups. And I can definitely say that at least on the 2 indicators I've sent him so far, he did a great job. I was really impressed. And yeah, I think it's worth shouting out people who do a good job and are not. Like, he was half the cost of the nearest other indicator repair place.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, granted, he's not I don't know if it's ISO or whatever certification you need to like provide certs, but like most of those companies that do it, like the certs are another $30-$40 anyway. And so like I would rather have him repair my indicators and then send them out for certifications if I needed it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So anyway, Accurate Origins on Facebook, check them out. Well worth the money. And then the other one, we had Johan Sandflow, who runs Sandflow Golf Company, reach out, and he really wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to Linus Follinger, who's one of his employees, and I guess listens to the podcast every week. So Linus, thanks for listening, and
shout out.
Yeah, shout out, and definitely say thanks to your boss, Johan. Thanks, guys,
awesome.
for listening. Yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet. So yeah, those were kind of just a couple. Oh, and then on top of it, actually, I just got it today. Acero Precision on Instagram. They've been doing some giveaways recently, and I won their titanium pen one, and it actually just showed up like an hour and a half ago. And so
is that what I've been hearing you clicking?
Yes. And I'll go ahead and stop that. Yeah. So they I think they did like some knockers, to knock parts in on like a 4-jar or something, and a few people won those. Dennis over at Lathe Night Podcast won one of them, or maybe it was Eric. I can't remember which one of them won one. And then they just recently did a titanium pen giveaway, and it's pretty cool. Like it's a screw type pen, and like the whole back end of it has like a really kind of looks like a and like an Acme thread almost. So it only takes like a half a turn to turn out the tip, and it's really cool. So I wanted to make sure that I give him a shout out as well. Thanks guys for sending that over.
Yeah. One thing while we're doing shout outs, I want to shout out Yates Precision because man, I love shaving now. Like I told him this, but I'm like, I like really enjoy this now. And like it's just like it's actually fun. Like I'm not like, oh, I have to shave my face again. But now it's like, all right, let's bust out this razor and let's freaking put on some music and I'm gonna shave my face.
Yeah. I think what is his slogan's like "Enjoy your routine" or something like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I think that it's well deserved. I'm the same way now. Like it's like okay, like it's not. It was something that I used to do in the shower just absentmindedly, and like now it's something that's like I'm going to shave, and like it. Yeah, it takes maybe a little bit longer, not much, but it's a ton of fun. I really like it too. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and like people, myself included, was kind of hesitant. It's like, oh, you're shaving with a razor? Like that sounds scary. But honestly, like I can go pretty fast, and like it's not that like I haven't really seriously cut myself at all.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I find more that like if I do cut myself, like I know it immediately because, and it's because I was doing something that like I shouldn't have been doing.
exactly.
Like I was like, oh, I want to touch up this area. Maybe I'll like try it from this angle. When it's like, well, you probably should have just done it right, or like maybe it didn't need to be that close, or something like that. Like I feel like every time I do it, I get better at it and quicker at it, and yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I saw he's got some
So
cool stands coming out.
I don't know. I'm thinking about getting one of those, and then he had the I don't know if they're still on sale, but he had the spaceman leather pouches too that were on
Oh, that's
sale. They
cool.
might be on
Yeah,
sale this month, and so I was thinking about getting one of those.
yeah, those are really
Um,
cool.
yeah, but yeah, good idea. Definitely worth shouting out. A great product.
Yeah. All right, what's new? You have some things on our list here.
Yeah. So we haven't talked in a couple weeks, as always. So I've got some jobs that under my belt that I feel like I got to share successes about. We did some polycarbonate machining on our big vacuum fixture after we finished those grills, and I was like, I don't want to say that I was hesitant to do it, but like they were really tiny parts, really thin. I was worried about getting chip out and holding tolerances and all that, and like it actually went really well. The parts were super tiny, and we were doing it on like quarter-inch sheet, and
Was
so
this that black I saw on your? You posted a story of just like some black material.
yeah. So that was black
Okay.
polycarbonate, and I ended up just windowing them out on the vacuum fixture, and it took a few sheets to kind of dial it in. Like at first, I was a little too aggressive, and so like what happened is at first I was profiling the parts in a ramp with a 3/8, and they were really close together, and so when it would get to the third or fourth part, it would flex up and pop a hole in it. And so I, lose vacuum and all that stuff. Thankfully, due to the design of my vacuum fixture, I've got kind of like a vacuum reservoir almost because those pockets are so deep under the vacuum fixture. And so, like, I could see the button on the Pearson VPU pop up about 10 or 15 seconds before I actually lost vacuum fixture or vacuum pressure.
Well,
So if
that's
I
really nice.
yeah, so if I saw the button pop up, I could stop it immediately, and that was before it, ripped apart off my vacuum fixture and tried to throw it somewhere, which was great.
Jeez.
Um, so I ended up though dialing it all in and getting it down to where I was leaving a 5 thou floor, and I was using like a 3/16 so that there was like some fairly thick material between parts, and I was able to just like cut them out with I've got a pocket scalpel from Jackson Machine, I think it's called. I can't remember what he calls himself on Instagram, but I was just able to cut it out with that and then lightly deburr the other side, and I was done. So
Nice.
yeah, it was awesome. And then Jackson Knife and Tool, yeah. So I've had my pocket scalpel from him for like a year and a half or 2 years. That's another decent shot. I really really like this thing. I actually bought one for my dad this last Father's Day, so
Nice.
but yeah, so I had almost no chip out. It definitely flexes when it gets really thin, but nothing to be scared about. I mean, I was able to really haul ass in it and not worry about it pulling up or cracking off or melting it really. I did have some melting issues when I was ball milling it. I think I should have left more stock when I was ball milling it. But otherwise, cutting it normally, like I think I was ramping at like 7,500 RPM and 80 inches a minute or something like that.
Were you using coolant?
Yeah,
Okay.
coolant and just normal 3 flute like Destiny tools. I was
Okay.
gonna buy some like Harvey plastic specific end mills, but I just didn't have time, so it all worked out.
How many of those parts did you have to make?
It was one of each, but I ended up making like I don't know 18 of each or something because
Oh, jeez.
I was running 3 of each every time I ran it, and like I had two or three sheets pop up on me because I was doing the wrong size end mill or the wrong depth of cut, and then what happened? One of them, I don't know. I made a few mistakes here and there, and like I had a ton of extra material because when I ordered material, it was as cheap to get like 4 or 5 little tiny pieces cut as it was to buy like a big sheet.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so like I just had them send the full sheet that was cut up into 12 by 12 pieces. And so I had a bunch of excess material, and like I probably wasn't as cautious as I could have been because of that. But like the material was cheap, and really I was trying to learn a lot of lessons all at once. And so, I did. It just took a little longer than I would have liked.
Hey, you got it done. So,
Yeah. And the customer seems happy with them. I was happy with them. I was happy to be done with them. That's for damn sure.
how similar is polycarbonate to like Delrin?
Oh, it's like way more rigid. It's like a
Wow,
lot.
I thought Delrin was pretty rigid.
I don't know. Like Delrin like is fairly.
I guess when it's thin, it's not.
Yeah, well, and like I don't know, polycarbonate would bend more than Delrin would, so maybe rigid is not like the right.
Is it harder?
Maybe brittle is the right word.
Okay.
Like it feels like plexiglass
Like
more than
acrylic or something.
yeah. It feels more like that than it does like Delrin.
Like it'll crack before it like, I don't know, just breaks.
I think I don't know. I really don't know too much about it, but it didn't cut like Delrin, that's for sure. Like it didn't.
Okay.
It made a lot more tiny chips. It seemed like than it did. Like Delrin, you can get some fairly long stringers, stuff like that. So it didn't seem like it did that as much. But I don't know.
Huh.
I'd have to get like a similar size block and maybe do a little more research. This was kind of maybe not the best research job I've ever done, but it all, I guess, worked out. I think probably just due to luck more than anything.
Yeah, I've never worked with it. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it really wasn't that bad. I would totally machine it again. I had no problems with it. Maybe holding hole tolerances, like I didn't have to drill it at all. There was no holes in the entire job, so maybe drilling it's a pain. I'm sure there's a lot of pitfalls in it, but as far as for what I was doing, it wasn't that bad at all.
Okay, cool.
And then I had somebody who listens to the podcast reach out and ask me to bid a job, and so I wanted to kind of talk about bidding yourself out of a job and being okay with it, because like I wasn't okay that I missed out on the work, especially like with how weird everything is right now. Like I don't want to miss out on any work, and
Yeah.
I bid it kind of high because it was like a larger production run that would have taken up a mill for I don't know a couple weeks probably,
Oh, wow.
and it was stainless and just there was a lot of variables, and so I bid it kind of high, thinking like, well, they seemed like they were cosmetic pieces from what I could gather. You know, maybe it's worth it to them. And I ended up following up, and he said, oh, we had to go for a local shop that had a lower cost, and blah blah blah. And at first, I like was really beating myself up, like, oh, you're an idiot. You should have just lowered your cost. Because like even when I sent the quote, I was like, well, I could like drop the price a little bit. And I was like, no, like this is probably a good idea. And yeah, like I said, the first day I like was really beating myself up. I was like, that was dumb. Like you should have lowered your price, blah blah blah. And like the more I thought about it though over the last couple of days, it's not like, yes, is the part cheaper? Or could the part have been made cheaper? For sure. But it would have definitely taken up a lot of Brad and I's time in the shop. And like I
Yeah.
bid it high because of that. Like even though it was a fairly low complexity part, low operation number, all that stuff, it still would have required us to kind of babysit the machine and make sure the tooling wasn't breaking down. There was a hand finishing op for every single part. And I don't know, looking back on it now, like would I have liked to have maybe lowered my price a couple bucks and gotten the work? Sure. But I don't know. I mean, for all I know, the local shop could have come in at a quarter of my price or something. And like, I couldn't have done it for that. So
Yeah, you
I
never know what that other price is.
yeah, yeah. And actually, what I should have done, and Machinist Therapy Hotline just talked about this either last week or the week before. I guess last week they had a guess. So it was the week before they had talked about like asking for target pricing. And because it was so far out of my wheelhouse, and it was the first time talking to this customer, that is totally what I should have done. I should have asked for a target price, or I should have, you know, sent the quote and said, "Hey, work with me on the pricing. I'd really like to get this work from you," or like, prove myself or whatever. And those are strategies I could have used, and I just didn't really think of them until it was too late.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up because if you miss out on some work, definitely don't beat yourself up. I mean, if you went out of your way to try to screw somebody over, and you're like, well, screw you, I don't like you, and I'm going to charge you 50% more, and then you lose the job, like, well, that's 100% your fault. But like, if I bid it high because I had some valid reasons and there was some unknowns, am I bummed that I missed out on the work? Totally. Should I beat myself up over it? Probably not. And so I thought that was
Yeah.
worth talking about on the podcast, because as we've talked about, Machinist Therapy Hotlines talked about, like, quoting is such a black magic, and like everybody's got their way of doing it. Everybody's got their best guess, and it is like it's a tough job. And so like occasionally you make mistakes. Occasionally you don't get the bid. So
Yeah, a couple things to say to that. One, you got to value your time. Every person has a different gauge of that. I mean, that's anything from what machines you have, what's your overhead, where you live, all that. That all depends on what is an hourly rate for your time, no matter what you're doing. Um, and then, like you said, um, don't beat yourself up too much, because there's always going to be that next job. It is, I've been there, everyone's been there. It's like, it would have been nice. But then, like you said, I've started looking at jobs as, okay, how long is this going to take me? Okay, it's going to take me 2 weeks of machining. Okay. At the end of those 2 weeks, would I be happy with that invoice amount? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then okay, great. But if it's like, like that's a lot of work for maybe only a couple $1,000, then it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm not as beat up about, not getting it.
yeah, well, and I think really, if the world wasn't so crazy right now, I don't think I would have taken it as hard. But it was like, you know, we're still fairly busy. We're definitely doing all right. But it was like, I should. There was the back part of my mind that was like, you should be scooping up every little bit of work and just getting as much money as you can through the shop to protect yourself and blah blah blah. And like, I think it was that like fight or flight shop owner instinct that was really beating me up.
And I
And
bet you that other shop was thinking the same thing.
right, exactly. Everybody's trying to scrounge up as much work as they can right now. Um, and yeah, at the end of the day, I think I did what was right for my company. Like I said, I definitely learned a good lesson about kind of communicating with them. And like, for all I know, I would have asked for target pricing and we would have said, sorry, we don't do that. Or like, we don't have target pricing. Or he would have, I don't know, but like, at least I know that I should ask that kind of thing next time.
It's funny you mentioned target pricing, because I got a new customer recently, and that's exactly how I've been pricing these parts for him. And he's actually been very fair about it, which is nice. He's not a machinist, but he understands the processes a little bit and the time and money involved in it. So it's nice when I can be like, hey, what's your target price? And he gives me a range, and I'm like, I'm gonna be at the high end of that, but you're gonna get your parts and they're gonna be good quality. And so he understands that. And like you said, it can just be it's a total shot in the dark at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And really, like, the guy who asked for the quote even said that he was like, you probably would have made these parts way better than this other shop, but right now we have to go with the lower cost. And I was like, I totally understand. Next time, I'll ask for these things. Because like, not I said it even in the email, like not having done business with you and me not asking for any target pricing definitely put me in a disadvantage. I hope that we can prove ourselves to you in the future or something like that. So it all worked out, but I definitely thought it was a worth it topic and lesson to have been learned. Definitely don't beat up yourself. Definitely value your time correctly, and not come down on yourself so hard if you miss out on something because you did that. So
Yeah.
that was one thing. I guess I'll jump ahead real quick and then I'll go circle back. Machining stainless on the brother. We had a run of like 40 303 pieces. I sent you some videos and actually posted them in my stories too. And that went fantastically. Dual contact is freaking amazing. Um, we were using the same tool that we were running on the Kitty in 304, and this was 303. But like it sounded way better. I was able to I think I 2.5 times the feed rate what I was running in the Kitty on. I mean, granted, it was 304, it was different material, but like it just overall, I was so impressed with how great it was. Plus, having tool breakage detection was fantastic because I just checked my rougher and checked my drill before the thread mill went in there, and like I just was making near about perfect parts. I could not have been happier about the whole thing. So
Yeah, those videos you sent me were kind of scary.
yeah, I think the second one I sent you was like 168 inches a minute in 304, and like
It's
granted,
kind of crazy.
it was only like 600 thou deep, and like a 30 thou step over, 25 or 30 thou step over, but still pretty good for a little 30 taper machine. And yeah, I was pretty happy. It was a helical tool that I had left over from that exhaust flange job.
Yeah.
And man, it kicked ass. And like I used a nice carbide drill for all of the through holes, and then a scientific cutting tools, 3 flute or 3 pitch, 3 flute thread mill. And I told you this. It was the first time I've ever thread milled a hole and had zero comp. Like
That's awesome.
the first hole was perfect, and I think over the run of 40 pieces, I comped it out 2/10, and like I probably didn't even need to. It was just
I was
like,
about to
well,
say.
I'd like it a little bit looser. I think it was more to make myself feel better than anything. So
I know how to comp.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, it's getting tight. I'll put a couple tenths of wear in there. So
I'm
anyway,
cool.
it was it was a good experience all around. Definitely makes me want to machine some more stainless in that machine because it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's really cool.
Within the last week too, I posted this. This was actually a post and not a story. I made a anniversary gift for my girlfriend, and I definitely this should have gone in the shout outs, but I guess I kind of wanted to make its own little segment. Sean from Niche Products, man, he is nothing but a rock star. Like he posted a picture of one of these lithographs like a week and a half or 2 weeks before my anniversary, and I like messaged him about it and was like, hey, just saw these are so cool, I'd love to do one. And then I was like, oh, actually I just saw the time, or I saw the date, like there's no way that I would ask you to make these in 2 weeks. And he was like, no, don't worry about it, let's do it. And so like I sent him a few pictures, and he's got all the software to convert it to an awesome lithograph, and then the know-how to do it, and the right material and all that. And he got it done. I got it shipped back, and then I spent like till 4 a.m. the night before um, making the frame and putting all the electronics in. And I think it came out great. Like I'm nothing but impressed with his work and happy with my work. And my girlfriend loved it, so it had all kind of worked out. So if you haven't seen it, if you're listening and you haven't seen it, head over to my Instagram, Proteum Machining, and check out. I think it's my latest post. But it came out awesome. It was just so cool. And I've missaid the name of his company 2 or 3 times on this podcast.
Uh
So we joked about it a while ago, but it's niche products. So like that like it fits in a niche.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've said Nietzsche before because I just
Nietzsche.
am an idiot and just misread it and then went with that. But
Nietzsche.
yeah, but I met him 2 IMTSs ago, and
Okay.
I met him at the M Hub event, and so we've kind of kept up with each other and talked over the years, and so I can't thank him enough. And if you guys want just an amazing gift for anybody, uh, these lithographs are just so cool. Like they're all 3D cut, and when the light shines through, you get like absolutely amazing detail from them. I still can't believe like the little bits that actually come out in it, and because it's 3D, like it feels way more real than an actual like a picture. So definitely check them out. It's niche underscore products underscore LLC on Instagram. Totally worth it.
Very cool. Yeah, it turned out really cool. I thought it was a pretty cool gift.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I always love making her stuff. I made her the necklace hanger for Christmas a few years ago. I made her the earring hanger this last year. I've got actually a project that I've been working on for like a few years that I just haven't, I've shown it to her, but I haven't given it to her yet because it's just not done. It's like a ton of soldering, and that's the part that I'm stuck on right now.
Yeah.
But I just love making gifts. I think they're a ton of fun. So, and to be able to work with somebody else and have something like that cool come out of it was really amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the last thing I had on my list of shop news was I am currently struggling with some pre-cut electronics enclosures. So they're like
Uh-oh.
a 16th inch piece of aluminum that's cut like into an oblong shape, and they fit on the front and back of this electronics housing. And I've done it before. Like I did these 2 years ago for this customer, and now they've got the new version of them. And I don't know. I somehow either threw away the fixture or repurposed it. And this time, the way that they hold down is there's four countersunk screws on the corners, and they're only, I don't know, they're maybe inch and a half by 6 inches. And there's a bunch of pockets cut in them for the connectors. And for some reason, this time I'm doing them, the end mill is pulling them up under roughing and throwing chips under them, and so it's actually bowing them like 20 or 30 thou in the center. And so I have to loosen them all and blow out from under them and then retighten them. And I think maybe this time it's just because I'm going at them more aggressively than I did last time. But man, like I spent 4 hours yesterday, like modifying the fixture, changing my tool paths, bunch of just different crap, and like it's just driving me nuts. I think I've got an idea. I think I'm just going to slow down. Like I don't have that many of them to do. I've got I think
Okay.
60 of each side to do. But it's like it's I what I really should have done and what I needed to do, what I'm going to do is just buy downcut end mills from Harvey in a few sizes, and I've been wanting to do it forever because I need them for the vacuum fixture too. And I don't know why I haven't done them until now, but like I'm gonna get through these, and then I'm gonna make sure that I have like a 1/4 inch and a 3/16 downcut 3 flute from Harvey, and that way I don't have to worry about this kind of stuff in the future.
Yeah, just buy those, get it done.
Well, it's one of those things like, it's the same with like when I broke that probe tip. Like I've been saying to myself for months, like, or like for a month, like buy extra probe tips, buy this. And like every time I use the vacuum fixture or think about using it, I'm like, buy some downcut end mills. And like, I just, it's one of those things it either slips my mind or I'm like, oh, I don't actually need them right now, so I'm not going to spend the money.
Yeah,
And,
you
but
somehow give it your brain excuses to not buy it.
yeah. And then it just bites me in the ass. So,
So what are you gonna do tomorrow?
yeah, I'm gonna buy some for sure. As long as I'm pretty sure my Harvey supplier is a essential in Arizona. So
Okay.
if they are, I'll make sure to buy them tomorrow. And if not, I'll do it when I can.
Very cool.
Yeah. So what about you? You've been busy, busy, busy. I mean, lots of Instagram stories, and we've been chatting a bunch. And what's going on?
Yeah, it's crazy. So first things first, I'm starting this injection mold for this face shield part. I don't really want to talk about the whole craziness going on in the world other than this because it's just kind of annoying in my opinion. um, just overwhelmed with getting this thing done, and it's honestly turning out pretty good. I just finished about an hour before we started talking here with all the ejector pins, all the different components to the mold. The only thing I have left to do today, machining wise, is When I selected a geometry for the cavity, I missed just a tiny little corner, so I have to put that mold back in, um, find the edge, and just recut out that little pocket. It's kind of scares me because it's nice when you do all that stuff in op one and then it's perfect. It's kind of scary to realign it. If it's off just by a couple tenths, you'll see it. Um, it doesn't really matter on this part, but with my Lego side of things, like that wouldn't be acceptable. So I don't know. I've never done that before, so it'll be interesting to just re-pick up at the corner and just machine this little feature.
Cool. I'm super pumped for you that like the last time we talked, we were like, oh, we want to help, we just don't have a way. And then like in the last 2 weeks, you found people who are doing exactly what your specialty is and all of that. And like I'm super pumped for you. I'm really hoping that I have a similar opportunity come up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all local, which is nice. And I'm working with another YouTuber and Instagram machinist, John. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's been really helpful. And then another local guy that actually is literally within walking distance of my house, and I had no idea, which is really funny. And so we're all working with this Facebook group to get these face shields to local hospitals. And then if anyone's listening that needs them, let us know because we could probably help out. But this one like group of nurses and like practitioners, they want I think 10,000 to start. Um, and I don't know what that really entails. There's a lot of gray areas to this, but all I know is I should be assembling this mold tonight and probably getting it loaded up into my boy machine tomorrow morning. And then we got some test material. I've never worked with polypropylene, but we're going to try it tomorrow in the boy. And hopefully, this mold injects and hopefully it ejects the part, and everything runs smoothly. I'm pretty confident it will. And yeah, it's actually crazy from design to mold to making a mold to making parts was less than a week, and that was all rushed. I was overnighting everything, but it was just kind of cool to see how long something like this actually takes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's. I feel like if they were going through standard channels, it might not have been this easy. Like I told you, I guess it just depends on the person and how motivated they are. Like we were talking about it. If you've seen the latest Smarter Every Day, like they were working with somebody that also had a boy
Yep.
machine, and it sounds like he turned one around super quick as well. So yeah, I think it's awesome that you've had this opportunity, and just super cool that you're helping out. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some friends and family, and they were asking about this, and I was just like, even if like I don't make 10,000 of these, as long as I get a couple pictures of some nurses wearing them, I'd be like, that's awesome. Like that's all I need.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the point is just to help. Like I I don't know personally. Like, there's no level of help that would be like, oh, well, that wasn't worth my time. It's like even if I helped like one person, it's like, well, I did, I did a part. I helped somebody.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I think that that's totally the right way to think about it, and that's awesome that you're getting to do that.
Yeah, so I'm learning a lot, so I'm hoping I can apply all this to larger injection molds. This is going to be the largest mold I've ever made, and it was kind of just put on my lap and was like, "Okay, go." And I was like, "Well, I've never done this before. Like I've done tiny ones like whoa, whoa, whoa." And I'm like, "Hold on, Peyton, like chill. You know all the processes, you've done them before. They might not have all been in this one time frame, but you know how to ream holes accurately, you know how to do this, you know how to design." And it's like, okay, what's the deal? Like, it's just, okay, I need materials and this. And it's just, I think, a good learning experience for myself. And if it works, I'm going to be really confident in being able to design some molds now, which I think will be great.
Yeah, totally. And Easton was able to help you a little bit. It sounded like I'm glad that he was, since I wasn't able to.
Yeah, I'll show, and this kind of goes to my second point. I started a YouTube channel for machining stuff, but I'm doing YouTube videos on all this, making the molds and assembling it, and then eventually running parts. And he made the I don't know if this is the technical name of these parts, but I'm just coming up with them. But it's the ejector plate guide, and basically all the ejector pins are tied into these two plates, and the pins he made keep the ejector pins from basically falling out the back end of the mold. Um, and
Okay.
so once again, I don't have a lathe. I guess I could have milled them, but I was just like, nah. And I had too much else to deal with. So he was like, yeah, I'll make some. So he made some, and he was generous enough to basically just, I had to pay him for materials and I think like priority shipping or whatever it was. And he did the rest for free. So shout out to Easton.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how fast you had them in hand. Like, even with priority shipping, I was like, damn, that's like, I saw them in Easton's feed last night and they're in
Yeah.
Peyton's hand today. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it was on like a weekend too. It was like a Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, that worked out great. I'm really glad that it all worked out, and it seems like you're rolling right along with that mold. So,
Yeah. It'll be interesting tomorrow what my stories on Instagram entail.
oh, speaking of stories, what cutter were you using on your story today? You're pushing like 150% spindle load in aluminum. What was the speed, feed, depth, all that stuff?
So, and that wasn't even, let's see. I have a, so, okay, back up. I started this YouTube channel, right? For those
Hmm.
that are listening, go check it out. It's BrickTactical. Make sure you find the right one. Um, I'll be doing videos on that, on all this, and I have a good video clip of me using the same tool you're talking about. It is a Mari tool 2-inch face mill. I think it's actually 1.87 diameter, and I think I was actually pushing it even faster. I was pushing it at 250% spindle load,
Jeez.
and it was 300 inches a minute, 1.5 inch step over, and I think probably a quarter inch depth of cut. And
Damn.
it was just going. I was like, this is awesome.
That's Holland, dude.
Yeah, so, it's kind of funny. And all these videos I talk about, like, oh, I'm running things slow because I only have one of these things to make. And then I honestly forgot I programmed it that fast. And I was like, this is so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need
so
to play around with stuff like that. Even like, yeah, I don't know. The brother spindle load is weird. I have yet to push it past about 30%, and
really.
like that's like hauling ass too. So I need to just get a big ass block in there and just go to town and see what I can get to.
Yeah. And I found, with facing, I don't know about you, but with aluminum, I feel like facing dry is actually better.
Yeah, I face at least in 6061. I face 100% dry. Like in
Really.
I was running 7075 today, and that I usually flood coolant just because it leaves a nicer finish. And same with like Mike 6, but 6061 I always face mill dry pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, I might start roughing with coolant, especially if I'm running as fast as I was. And
Yeah,
then
yeah. Don't chip weld that cutter,
yeah.
please don't.
And then come back and do like a 20 thou dry cut or something,
Yeah, 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 totally. I think that is definitely how I get the best finishes is dry.
which is kind of weird. I don't know if it's cuz the coolant's pushing the chips into the cut maybe.
I think sometimes it is, but like also sometimes when it's dry, I also get chip drag too.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the mechanism is right that's making that happen, but yeah, I pretty much always face dry.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I used to just face at 10,000 RPMs and like 60 inches a minute was fine. But then I realized I'm like, I can go like I said, 300 inches a minute and I'm getting the same results. So why wouldn't I go faster?
Totally. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I've been,
especially if you're holding on to that much material. Like if you're not worried about it moving, just haul ass, do it.
yeah. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
That's awesome, man.
So
That is
yeah.
really cool.
And then I guess one last thing. So with my boy machine, my injection molding machine, I'm running into the problem. Well, normally you run these machines with water to keep the hydraulic oil cool and at a stable temperature. I
Okay.
haven't been doing that only because my water system is really janky and I don't fully understand what's going on. So,
That's probably a good reason to not use
yeah.
it.
And so I went down there and I probably stood behind the machine for an hour and I was just looking at it and I was playing with the water and the pump and I was like, okay, I think I understand because I didn't route these water lines. This was the previous owner and I kind of had to figure out and I labeled like in and out and where things are going. And I'm probably gonna after I make these parts for the face shields, I'm probably gonna rip it all off and do it myself. Just because there's a lot of excess hose, there's just a lot of craziness, and I want to do it my way, and it wouldn't cost me that much. So I'm playing around with that, and then I really have to nail this down because without cooling my machine, I get about 3 to 4 hours of runtime before the oil temperature heats up, and there's actually a sensor that triggers an alarm and it says you can't run anymore.
Oh, damn.
So I don't want that. Like I want at least an 8 hour shift. Um, and so I'm gonna try some things. I tried one thing that a guy on a Facebook group messaged me and was like, "So I have a 55-gallon drum of water with a pump that just recirculates it." He's like, "Take the lid off, which will help get heat out of the water." And like, okay. And then he's also like, "Put a fan on top of that if you can." So I'm gonna try that. It's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna help a lot, but it's gonna help a little bit. Um, and then for the time being, I might just take some water out of that drum and go get cool water from like the garden hose and dump it in. But long-term solution, reroute all the water lines and get a actual water chiller so I can have a closed loop system that keeps it cold.
That's awesome. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that. Like, it sounds like in the last few months, like you've had such a push to get your boy up and running, and like it makes me super happy.
Yeah, it's just getting it to where I'm comfortable with everything. And one of the other things that I'm kind of worried about is so I got all those new seals for parts of the boy actually yesterday, but I don't really want to start tackling that before I have to run these parts for this face shield thing. Because if something happens, I don't want to be down for a week and they need parts yesterday. Um, but then my other part of my brain is like, well, don't run it with bad seals. And so I'm kind of in this predicament. I'm going to run as much as I can, being careful. Um, but at some point, I'm going to have to stop and I'm going to have to replace these seals. And it's kind of, I looked at the blueprints the guy sent and it's kind of intimidating.
Really,
Yeah, it's not
because
as,
your other ones weren't that bad.
I guess the other ones were intimidating too, but once I started doing it, it wasn't that bad. And looking back on it, it wasn't that bad. So maybe it's just the same kind of a feeling. Like I've never done this side of the machine. So maybe I just need to get out of my own head.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Like
Yeah, I hope so.
everything, everything is new and scary until you do it once, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, one of my old inspectors that I worked with, he was like, you know, everything's easy if you know what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, buddy. Like, yeah. Or his other saying was, "You just got to be smarter than the material you're working with." It's like,
Yeah.
uh huh,
Thanks.
yeah, yep, yep, yep. You're not wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, though. I'm really looking forward to like the day where you feel like you have the boy nailed. You know?
Yeah, and it's just making me like, everyone has their dream machine and now I'm like kind of fanboying over injection molding machines and I didn't realize, well, I knew this, but more recently Fanuc makes injection molding machines and they're called the RoboShot
Oh yeah, right, right. Yeah, we've
and
talked about those before, you and I.
yeah, fully electric and no oil and I'm just like that would be so nice. No leaks, no
Oh, no oil,
overheating.
huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's crazy. That's like some serious pressure to use electric motors.
I mean, Fanucs, I guess they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's half as reliable as a robo drill, you'd still have an insanely reliable machine.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I remember when you were first having issues with your boy, you're like, "Screw it, I'm getting a robo shot. I'm not
Yep.
dealing with this
And
anymore."
then I called and he's like, "Yeah, they're about 80,000." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, you're like,
okay."
"Screw it, I can replace the seals on my boy."
But then I was like, "I can't. I got to call them. They want 10 grand to come out." Nope. Okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like once this is done, you should definitely just start maybe making some mold blanks for that thing, and just start just playing on it. Like I've
That's
always found
exactly
that
what
like
I'm doing.
yeah, I've always found that like playing around with something, I learn more than if I was like doing actual work on it because I'm not stressed.
Exactly.
Like my first boss, thankfully, was really open to that kind of stuff, like me working after hours and using uh, shop machines and end mills and all that stuff. His thing was, you pay for anything you break, and you make sure that you clean up, and that if you have to reset up a job, you reset up a job before you go home. But like, I definitely owe so much to him, like just letting me. I made like a quadcopter frame. I like started a knife project. I had a bunch of odds and ends, keychains and stuff that I machined. And like every time I did something like that, I improved my programming and my setup and my soft jaws and everything. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. A lot of the materials for this mold were materials I was going to use for another injection molding project. Like you said, just something for myself just to play with. But I'm learning a lot about like press fits and stuff like that. And so I just got to make some more orders and get some of this stuff back in stock for myself. And I've got blanks for molds. And one of the, I don't know if it's going to be the first project I make, but one is going to be a production mold for Lego guns. But then the second one is I've always wanted to make my own tool holder tags for Cat 40 and then potentially even 30 taper. And I thought that'd be cool to make and sell my own.
that'd be awesome. If you make them, I might be able to get you a PO from my day job because we've bought
I think it's Lindex
uh,
or
we bought them through AccuPro through
that's
MSC,
right. Yep.
and the Dymo labels that we print off of our tool setter don't stick to them
Oh,
like at all.
really?
Yeah, so like he either has to put the label on there and then tape it to it, or just write on it with like a wet erase or something like that. But like whatever, I don't know if they're using ABS or whatever they're using. The sticky on the back of the labels just does not like it. Like you put on a label on it, and like within 10 seconds, it's peeling up at the edges.
So do you put like a barcode that you can scan, or is it just like this is tool 5, this is the offset?
It's just Tool 5. This is the offset. They're not RFID or anything like that. That is an option with the tool setters, but for what we're doing, we end up posting directly to the machines.
Okay.
So we like he will set an entire tool list, and then I set it up so it posts to a program number, because like you can post it out as like the offset style file that a lot of machines use, but because we have so many different machine types, getting the post to work exactly right with every machine was becoming an issue. And so we have just one that creates a file that uses G10 writing to the registers for the tools.
Okay.
So you pull down that program. So like if it's machine 8, it's program 108, and run that program, and it just overwrites every single tool that's in the offset register with the new tools, and then you load them and go.
Okay, because what I'm trying to figure out from a design aspect of this is my first thing was okay, if I mold them in, let's say, black or some cool color, and then get like custom little stickers made that were white dry erase and put those on so people could just use like a marker or Sharpie and then just wipe it off when they're done. Because like I have some of the AccuPro ones and I just use a Sharpie and then once I need more, I just take an alcohol wipe and clean them all off and erase it. I don't know what the best system is.
I think that there's so many out there that you're never going to be able to satisfy all of them. Like
Yeah.
everybody uses them in different ways. I think as long as they're relatively multifunction, where like taper labels stick to them, maybe put a place in them so that you can write on them, or just make them so that they can wipe off with an alcohol wipe, like you said. I think that that'll cover most use cases.
Okay.
I think places that are using RFID, a lot of them are inputting the RFID tag into the tool holder itself, is
Yeah,
what I've
I've seen
seen.
that. Yep.
So I don't know that you should really worry about that use case all that much.
Okay. Okay.
Because like the systems that use RFID tags, I think they give you tags to use too, usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked up MSC. You have to buy a 25 pack for $18 and so that's 72 cents a piece. And I was like, if I could make them for 50 cents a piece, I think that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, totally.
So,
And made in the USA and all that for less than China. That would be pretty amazing.
yeah, and I could do all sorts of cool colors, bright greens, reds, whatever.
Yeah, some Speedio blue.
Mhm. Yeah, seriously, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really sweet.
And
Um,
speaking
yeah,
of tool holders, actually, it's funny you brought this up. I got two tool holder related questions if you want to get into that.
yeah. Let's jump down into questions and look at the first one there and start thinking on that while we talk about the other two.
Yeah, I've already been thinking.
Yeah,
um, let's see. Okay, so speaking of pulling tools out and having tags, one of my questions for everyone listening and yourself included. So, what is the accuracy of pulling a tool, let's say out of my Haas machine, writing down, okay, it is negative 10 inches. That's the length offset. What is the accuracy of me writing that down and then a week later putting that tool back in, going in the offset, type that number in, and then go? What is, I mean, obviously it's got to be within a tenth, right?
yeah. It should be near about as dead nuts as possible, as long as you're not doing anything in the interim that wears your spindle. But like they're
Okay.
chrome plated ground surfaces, so unless you have A, damaged your tool while it's out of the spindle, or B, damage your spindle while the tool's out of the spindle, it should go back in near about the same. Or you're in damage. I'm also talking about pull studs too. Like if you crash the crap out of your machine and you damage your Belleville washers and it's not pulling on the tool holder as much, it could slightly change that as well. But like for the most part, the reason they use steep taper contact is because it's incredibly repeatable.
Okay. Because I was always worried, like my small mold tools, 15th thou diameter and less, I'm always worried to take those out of the machine because I'm always worried about, okay, if I write down this offset, how, I really do want like that plus or minus 2/10, if not, dead nuts perfect. And I don't want to have to touch it off again. So I'm always worried to take those out, but I guess I shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, you use your tool changer, right?
Exactly. That's my other argument in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're okay tool changing these tools, but you're not okay pulling them out, then that's the disconnect right there. Like, I mean,
Gotcha.
you're pretty much doing the exact same thing every time you tool change it,
Okay. That makes sense. And
and
then,
really, you have more of a chance of error tool changing it because chips can get up in your pockets and sit on the tool taper and all that. Whereas at least when you're putting it back in fresh from out of the machine, you wipe it off and you look at the tool taper. So
that's a good point. And then speaking of tool holders, so I found a website that sells tool holders, and I don't think many people know about this. Maybe they do, but they were extremely cheap. And like, I'm talking $22 for an ER16 tool holder.
okay,
And my first thought is, okay, these are probably crappy China, whatever. And I read through the website and actually talked to some people, and they're basically going straight to manufacturers, and it's either like tool holders that they can't sell, so they're giving them basically not for free, but almost at cost, and basically no middleman, right? And I bought two of them, and I can't wait for them to show up because I really want to check them out. I think they come Thursday, maybe, but I spent like $40 for ER16 and then an ER32. I think it was. That's a thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I can't remember if it was 20 or 32.
both of
Um,
those are things.
yeah, and so I knew that, but I didn't know which one was which. But I bought them, and I'm really curious. So if I put those in my spindle, and if they, if I put an indicator on the inside and I spin the spindle, and it's like within a tenth or two, preferably, a tenth, and they say they're balanced to 15,000 RPMs, like, is that a bad tool holder? I mean, as long as it holds the tool and it runs true, like, am I missing something here?
Well, A, you have zero way to verify the balance. But B, it also goes into like the grade of steel and like the temper and heat treat on it too. So like it might
Okay.
be perfect out of the box, but like it might wear prematurely on your spindle, or like you might crack an ER nut prematurely tightening it or something like that. I really have no idea. Like it, I try not to worry about those things because I don't have the facilities to check them, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a Hamer balancer, I don't have a, any of that kind of stuff. So like I do my best, I indicate them if I'm worried about them, stuff like that. I look at the tapers, I look for pock marks or grind marks or anything like that. But for the most part, you and I don't have the stuff to check them besides like run out. So maybe good for you. Only time will tell, I guess. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, kind of my argument in my head, right, is okay, like you said, we have no way of checking a $150 tool holder versus this $20 tool holder. If they both run within a tenth, they both run within a tenth. If they both say they're balanced, they both say they're balanced. Like, we have no way of checking it otherwise. So I guess my thought is, okay, if I can spend $1,000 and I can get 50 tool holders versus 10, I mean, I much rather get 50 that do the same job, at the end, it's just kind of a weird topic because it's like, yes, I rather support some of these local companies, but it's like, if your tool both does the same job, I have a business to run at the end of the day, and if I can make my life easier, why wouldn't I?
yeah, I understand that point of view for sure. I mean, as another business owner, on the other side of the coin, it's like, is saving $80 on a tool holder that might fail worth endangering a multi-thousand-dollar spindle or a tens of $1,000s machine? And that's why I don't usually buy stuff like that,
I
because it's
guess
like,
I see that point too.
if that tool holder is unbalanced and it's actually damaging my spindle, or if it like it turns out that the heat treat's wrong and the pull stud cracks off in it and the tool holder comes out of the spindle, was it worth saving $80 when I just lost a $7,000 spindle? Like, probably not. So like I don't know. It's a risk for sure, I guess.
I guess
I
my
don't know.
counter argument to that would be, how do you know that these other companies are doing their due diligence? And then also, if that were to happen with one of these name brands, the good quality stuff,
What
I
would they
mean,
do?
exactly. Yeah. Here's a new tool holder. Like, thanks. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as that, it's like some of it's trust. Like Mari tool, you can ask for the balancing data. Like they keep all that for every tool holder,
yeah.
stuff like that. So there is traceability on a lot of that stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, I definitely see both sides of the argument. I'm always trying to find a good deal too. I bought a lot of tools off of eBay for that reason, because people blow out old inventory or stuff that they're no longer selling, or things like that on there. But are you going to share what company this is?
Yeah. So it's tool lots, but I think it's one L. Or no, is it two?
There's
It's
only one in lots.
Yeah, but the tool, yeah, so no, but the tool and then the
Oh, okay,
lot.
I got it. It's one word. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, it is.
yeah.
And like, I don't know. I saw this through the Facebook Haas users group. I don't know if you're in that.
No.
Okay. It is it's some interesting stuff as to all the Facebook groups are.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
And some of them get real garbage real quick.
Yeah, some of them remind me of Practical Machinists, and that's when I leave.
Oh, they're even worse than that sometimes.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah, I can't stand. I mean, like, I'm a part of all of them because I have scored some awesome deals and like things like that. But at the same time, it's like I try not to post on any of them because you are just like immediately flooded by 7 to 10 people who think that they know every single thing in the world.
Yeah.
At least on Practical Machinists, a lot of the guys like they are definitely keyboard warriors, but like you can tell that they've had experience. Like they might
Yeah,
not have had experience in the last 10 years, but at least they had experience.
that's true.
um, yeah. So I yeah, but all right. Well, I'll definitely check out the website. It's interesting at least. Like I don't know.
I don't know. I figured what it won't hurt me to try
No,
these out,
I agree. I think it'll be really interesting.
and I'll definitely keep everyone posted.
Yeah, please do. I definitely want to know at least how the run out looked and all that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I,
because
I
those
saw
prices are ridiculous.
yeah, and they look, I mean, a picture's a picture, right? But they look like good stuff.
Yeah, they don't look bad.
And I know one guy that bought one on YouTube, a shrink fit, and it was less than a tenth of run out, and he shrunk a 1 inch tool.
That's a big one too. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let me know how it comes out. I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see. And if anybody listening has any experience one way or the other, definitely let us know.
Yeah, I'm curious. And then I don't know how to answer this question. This
Oh, yeah. So Nick from 523 Industries, 523 Industries said, "What's the worst thing you've said to a coworker?" And do you want me to read his post first
Okay.
so that you have an idea of what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Because I've got like pretty much no answer to this either. Actually, I just saw it and he had tagged us and Machinist Therapy Hotline, and I thought it was an interesting question. It definitely got me thinking, but like I don't know, I've got an interesting relationship with most of my coworkers over the years. So for him, he said for him it was a hot, humid day in West Chicago. There were 3 CNC machines all running and all contributing to the internal humidity of the poorly ventilated shop. There were many summer days like this, but the day was particularly brutal. His boss came over knowing that the bad conditions and obviously feeling bad about it and asked him and his coworker, "What kind of ice cream do you guys like?" And he said, no matter what we asked for, I doubt he would. I have no doubt he would have gone to any store or run down to any ice cream truck to get it for us. And his answer to this kind of gesture was the kind that eat at home. And looking back, he feels like it was a total dick move, throwing that kind of stuff back in his boss's face. So I don't know. I feel like I've definitely had snarky moments like that over the years,
I'm trying
but
to think. I mean, I've only worked at 2 shops. I guess I might have said some funny stuff at school with all my college guys, but I normally try to keep it on the low.
well, and see, like at work, me and my coworkers, at least my like everybody in inspection where I started is young, fairly young compared to my engineering uh, coworkers, and like we all have cultivated an air of like treating each other like garbage, but it's like the inside joke,
Yeah.
So like we're constantly flipping each other off throughout the entire shop. We're constantly berating each other, but it's like out of love, and so like I don't think that anybody there thinks that we all hate each other. Like somebody on the outside might see the way we talk and treat each other and be like, "Whoa, you guys hate each other a lot, don't you?" And it's like, no, 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 no. That's just how we show we love each other.
Isn't that
Like,
most guys though?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very much like that. Like we all like are constantly, just ripping each other one anytime anybody like says anything that like leaves that opening. So I don't know. Like I don't think that, like you said, I try to be very PC to other people. Not even PC, but like amenable to other people. Like I try to be really nice, even when I'm like, man, you are just the dumbest person on the planet. Like, and there's definitely been times like that. Like I guess I don't remember them because they don't stand out to me. Maybe they stand out to those people, but like I've definitely like there is one guy I work with that I honestly, he's a nice enough guy, but like he is just he asks questions that make my blood boil.
Uh-oh.
Like he just puts zero thought into being a human being in the world and like asks questions where I'm like, huh? Like what? How is that even a question in your mind? Like, have you not been using your eyes and ears for the last 10 seconds? Like, what are you talking about? And so like I'm sure I've said some sarcastic things to him, but nothing that like stands out as like the worst thing. I guess this is kind of a non-answer answer to Nick's question, which I feel bad about. But like I feel like I'm a relatively nice guy to most people. Um, I've definitely had my times of being like, I don't know, you figure it out, or like, I don't know, why don't you go Google it? Like, I don't have time for your crap, like that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
like, nothing worse than that, I guess. That I can really think of. I try to, yeah, I try to be as nice as I can at work, even when people just ask me the dumbest questions. And it
Yeah.
definitely happens. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like, man, I've been asked some real dumb questions. Like they'll like tell me like, oh, the part's 10th out of tolerance, and then they'll be like, is that bad? And it's like, what?
You just
Like
answered your own question.
what? Like, oh, yeah, it's that
Is
kind of stuff that
that
makes
bad?
right. It's like, man, or like I have got some guys that I work with on the CMM that like I will show them how to do something over and over and over, and then like that, like it'll happen again, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, what do I do?" And I'm like, "The same thing you did the last 5 times. What are you talking about? Like, what? What do you mean? What do I do? This is not a new thing. Like, you've done this before. You're not dumb." I always try to phrase things like that as like, I trust you, or you're not dumb. I try to empower them to be like, come on, think it through just a little bit more, please, so that I don't have to just rail on you about how dumb you're being right now.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's sometimes like we've got a young kid. He's like 17, I think, working with us, and he runs our CMM sometimes. And man, like I'm so glad that you are not like, I don't think I would have ever gone past like episode 2 with you if you were like this kid. Like he's
Uh-oh.
only a couple years younger than you, and like the light is on but nobody's home kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he sometimes like will get my blood boiling too. Like he'll message me in the middle of the day and be like, I don't know what to do. This happened. And it's like, oh, dude. Okay, I'll be right there. Yeah, it. Or I'll be like, I need you to watch this machine and make sure it doesn't crash. Like I watched you set it up. The setup's good. It's a proven program, but just watch the entire program. It's like a 10-minute program. Just watch it and make sure it doesn't crash. And I'll come back 5 minutes later and he'll be feet kicked up on his phone. And I'm like, oh. So I don't think I'm that terrible of a person, but I have definitely been like, you are smarter than this, or like you are just dumb as a bag of bricks, like that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I that's the thing is like I can deal with people being assholes. I can deal with like giving it out and all of that, but like I think the one thing that makes my blood boil more than anything is like incompetence and people who just don't even think about it. Like they don't even attempt to figure out a solution. And that's like, that is where the ugly side of Dylan comes out for sure.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, just like, I just have zero patience. Like I'm usually a very patient person, but like if I can see that they have given zero thought into how to fixing a situation and they've just come and got the nearest person to fix it for them, it's like that's where we're gonna have that's where I'm gonna have problems. Like that's where I'm gonna be very short on patience and just get it done and not talk to you and just like walk away as fast as I can because that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
100%. Anything that stands out to you in your past?
Trying to think. I've heard some pretty bad stories from other coworkers of things that have gone down, but nothing I've done. Like a guy
Yeah.
smacking a like some I don't know if this is true. I don't think it is, but if it is, that's kind of a funny story. Supposedly this guy kid comes up to this old coworker of mine and goes like, "Hey, what are the?" He was holding up a dead blow, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "I know it's not a hammer." And my coworker's like, "Put your hand down on the bench." Puts it down on the bench and just smacks the guy's hand. He's like, and I was
Oh,
just like, "Oh, okay, this is like torture over here."
wow.
I was like,
Yeah, I've definitely never done anything
"Yeah,
like
neither
that.
have I."
Yeah, that's insane stuff right there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no way, no way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like trying to think back to like the first shop I worked in, the first and the second shop. Actually, the second shop I worked in, I feel like would have had the worst stories because there was like zero oversight, and like even our boss was like very verbally abusive to people he thought were dumb. And so like I feel like if anything would have happened, it would have been there. But like I don't know. I usually just try to like keep my head down and do my work and be helpful where I can when I'm at work. Like if I'm gonna think ill of somebody, it's usually like in my own head and like that's about it. Like just not worth my time to like start something. Like I've never been one to start something with somebody else because that's always the kind of stuff that comes back and bites you in the ass, you know?
Yeah, it's just like you said, not worth it. It just will lead to nothing positive.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just interesting question though. Like it's hard to if I come up with anything over the next week, I will definitely bring it up on the next podcast we talk on. But I just can't think of anything specific where I'm like, oh yeah, that was in poor taste.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think myself here. Like you said, like sure I've probably been like just run the program, like just like you said, just something like that. But I don't think that really counts.
No, I've definitely been harsh or strict with somebody, but I have never been specifically mean. I guess like the yeah, for sure. Um,
Like I guess the only thing I can think of is like in class, I had this one friend of mine that was like in college, like I was the youngest, and I had one time a kid came in that was like the same age as me, and I was like, finally. And like he was always scared of the surface grinder, and then he had to make his 1 2 3 block, and I was like giving him crap for that, and he ended up blowing up a grinding wheel. And luckily no one was over there but him, and he was totally fine. But I came over to him, and I was just giving him crap for that, and I was just like, see, this is what happens when we give you access to this, like that type of thing. But
yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's normal shop stuff too.
yeah.
Like if you make a mistake, the I feel like the worst thing you can do in a shop is to make a mistake and then like try to act indignant about it. Like the first thing you need to do if you make a mistake is just 100% own up to it.
Yeah,
And like it's really hard for people
to
to
grasp
make
that.
fun of you. Well, and it's like really hard for people to make fun of you if you own up to it. If they're like, "Man, that was stupid," and you're like, "Yeah, it really was stupid. I'm so dumb right
Yeah.
now." They're like, "Yeah, you are."
Yeah.
Like, okay, like I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes, but like every single time I've made them, if I'm just like, "Yep, I did that," everybody's like, "Yep, you did." All right,
Yeah.
let's move on. Like, okay,
Yeah, he knows it, we know it, all right.
yeah, but like when people make a mistake and then hide it, or like they fix it just enough so the next person breaks it, like that is when it goes down in infamy, and people are like, "Oh man, you remember when you like were that sneak and broke that thing?" And
Yeah.
people were like, "Yeah," and like that will live on for a year. So yeah, it's I don't know, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on in the shop for the next week? You got the mold hopefully done tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go out there once we wrap things up here and try to cut that last cavity and maybe just kind of do a quick assembly just to see if everything lines up, and then tomorrow do that, and then the saga of UV printing continues. I ordered, well, I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I couldn't get white and clear ink to come through my machine. And I got a hold of tech support. Long story short, there's this print head that you're supposed to replace every, I think they say 9 to 12 months. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. It's like $1,400. Um,
Jeez.
but you get like a $200 credit if you send your old one back. So it's like $1,200 or whatever. And long story short, mine's bad, but I'm like telling the guy, I'm like, I've only had this for 6 months and you're telling me it's bad already? Like, I should have at least 3 more months out of this thing. And I guess it is what it is. I had to buy a new one, which I'm not very happy about, but I got print jobs sitting here for customers and they're good customers. So it's like, I can't have these guys wait. Um, and
Well,
so
most of your parts need them too, don't they?
exactly, yeah, and I'm out of stock on stuff, and you know, honestly, the Lego side of things has kind of taken a back seat for the past couple weeks, which I don't know if I don't know what the right word is. I'm not happy about that, but other things took priority and I just couldn't really do anything. So, yeah, that should be here Friday, I'm hoping. So, hopefully my weekend will be free where I can just print some stuff, get some jobs done, and yeah,
Nice. That's exciting.
yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Then, like I said, that new customer, I'm quoting stuff and probably gonna have to order material for him. But yeah, business
You
as
finally
usual.
get your head wrapped around those parts?
Yes and no. No, because I really haven't been giving it too much thought, and I really do need to. I've just been busy with this mold, like literally day in and day out. I've just been in this one fusion file, just like ba-da-da-da-da. Like literally that's all it's been. And I'm like I see the light at the end of the tunnel, so I need to look at that probably tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need help, you know who to reach out to.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. This week I've got those pre-cut enclosure housings to get done. Oh, I didn't mention at all about it, but we ordered and I got in the motor, pump, and regulator for through spindle coolant for my mill.
Yeah,
So I
when
got to
you
get that.
texted me that, I was cutting down a tree and I was like really excited for you, but I couldn't reply.
Yeah, I sent it and I was like, well, I guess he doesn't care. Like, but yeah, so we there's like a whole list of like the parts and stuff you need on the Facebook brother group, and I was waiting for a 25% off coupon to Zorro, and that finally came in the other day, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna get it done. And so like I think the motor, pump, and regulator cost me like $650 shipped, and then the rest of the fittings I need will be like another $100 from McMaster. So 750 all said and done to put through spindle coolant on the machine, which will be fantastic. I'm so excited.
Yeah. That's going to
And
be a
then
nice little upgrade.
oh, totally, yeah. I mean, it'll be like 400 psi, which will be more than enough for most drills. Like that 303 order that I just ran, I would have loved to have it on, just even to clear chips for like the thread mill and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so that's going on, and then I am hoping this week or this weekend I can get a engine crane into the shop and put the orange system on there finally. Like
Yes.
I've got one more part I need to make. I need to make the riser for the Blum tool setter, and then I'm all set. Like everything's ready to go. I want to send my the Delta vices back to get laser marked.
Okay.
But besides that, like we are ready to rock and roll, and I am so ready to get that on there. It's been way too long. We've just been nothing but busy, and like I couldn't tear down the machine for a few days. So, yep, that's where we're at. I got to make that riser. I finally got the print from Blum on the Z Nano probe that I have, and I'll get that all modeled up. And I pretty much want to model it so that it's in the exact same X, Y, and Z location. I mean, obviously, I'll recalibrate it and repick it up, but I know it works where it is. I know it doesn't interfere with anything, so I'll just model it up so that it goes back where it more or less is.
Wait, you said you're sending back your Delta Vices to get laser
Just
marked?
just the bases, yeah, because they started laser marking them after we got ours, and so I found out that I can send mine back in.
Wait, laser marked just like a number or something?
The there's those little serrations on the back jaw,
Oh.
and the new ones they mark them numerically. So like every sixth or every eighth one has a number, and then each one has a line, and so that way, like I will have the laser marking in Fusion and the laser marking on the Vice, and I can easily visually line it up and know which one to move it to.
Oh, so it's kind of just like those other jaws you have that just have like it's like a scale basically on it.
Sort of, except this is in the Y direction because like the on the Delta Vices, the fixed jaw is movable, but like you move it between serrations. Like there's a serration on the casting, the base of the vice, and on the bottom of the fixed jaw, and that's how it holds it, rather than like the pins that are on the 6-inch vices for the fixed jaw.
Oh, this is on the actual base of the vise on like the ground surface.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it'll make things, it'll make setup heaps easier, especially for like repeat jobs.
Oh yeah, because you
Oh,
could just mark. Okay, gotcha.
quick before we go too, speaking of repeat jobs, I was running more of those throttle body cams. I've been running them for years. Like I think I've got a video maybe 2 years ago of running the first set. I have like an AB tool cutter that does the throttle body cam channel. Actually, I've got a whole bunch of custom tools and programming and all that. But like I just reprogrammed them for the brother today and dropped 33% out of the cycle time.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was like so excited.
What was the cycle time?
Now they are just over 10 minutes apart.
Oh, so it was like minutes, not like seconds.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I dropped almost 3 full minutes on the first stop.
Nice. How many of those do
Because
you do at a time?
so he only ends up ordering like a few sets because he sells them online, and he does the retrofitting of the throttle cams himself, and so like he sells like piecemeal over the year. But when I'm set up, I usually run like 20 sets or something, so I just have them in inventory and can just sell them to him.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the way to do
So
it.
I ran 4 sets today to kind of prove out the whole program. And with the brother, like on the kitty, I didn't have two short vices, so I couldn't run op one and op two at the same time. On the brother, I've got two vices right next to each other. I already had the Carb Smart jaws cut from last time, and they're pinned and everything. So I'm gonna set it up tomorrow just to run uh, op one and op two at the same time, and I'll just be able to just keep it running all night and run out as many as I have time for.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds like you said, big improvement on cycle time and just overall.
Yeah, this is one of those jobs like I rarely get production jobs, and it's one of those jobs where I've run it enough now and like been able to buy specialty tooling for it and really improve the process that like it feels good.
It just
Like
makes
it
it worth it and it's validation and
yeah, yeah, and he's actually looking right now at another part to do through us, which I'm really excited for. And he's it sounds like he's willing to pay for some fixture costs and all that. So I'm super pumped.
you got to sneak in that NRE.
Oh, it wasn't even snuck. I put it straight out on there
Oh
because I
yeah.
really didn't want to do these parts, and I was like, here's $150 in NRE because I got to buy a whole bunch of clamps if you want. It's like a 4-op part, and
Oh
it's like I got to
geez.
buy a whole bunch of clamps to do it right if I want to do it, or if you want to do it. Like I made him the prototypes and all that stuff, so we'll see. We were talking about it today, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I might want to do it." He's like, "That NRE charge goes away after the first run, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it does. You got to buy the first run."
Yeah, seriously.
So we'll see.
Awesome.
Uh,
Well, should we end it there? Other than you have your homework tomorrow. Remember, what are you doing tomorrow, Dylan?
I'm buying down cut end mills. I'm getting it done.
There you go.
Oh, and then real quick before we leave, Kyle Warren, he's Kyle W124 on Instagram, just started an Insta Machinist Discord group. So if you're on Discord or if you don't know what Discord is, Google it and then go join. Go friend him. The link for it is in the bio. I think we're trying to get as many people on there as possible. I think it'd be kind of cool to have a live chat between all the instant machinists.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right now. It looks like two of them are in a call right now. I might just pop in after this.
I saw that too. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, oh, I'll just plug my headset back into my phone and
Yep.
jump in on that.
We
So
should both do that.
I'm totally game.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for sticking with us as always, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next week. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
next
yeah,
week,
yeah.
real quick, we have got Eric from Orange Vice. I need to confirm, but that is the plan as long as nothing with all this craziness has changed. Eric from Orange Vice on the podcast. So start getting your head wrapped around some questions for Eric, and we'll go ahead and post that later in the week.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.